Welcome to the Latin Wealth Podcast, a podcast dedicated to educating the Latino community about entrepreneurship, investing, and business.
Yo, what's going on, Latin Wealth family? Welcome to another episode to the Latin Wealth Podcast. Excited to get into this one today because today we're going to be talking about Argentina. Has Argentina's economy finally stabilized? Is the fight against inflation, is it working? We spoke about Argentina maybe about 2 months ago, and we all know, well, some of us know that their inflation recently has been absolutely out of control. So let's dive. We're going to dive into see if it's working and whatnot. We're also going to be talking about the mindset in our community and within the Latino community, right? Talk about some things that we've been seeing lately, especially coming from our platform, and just talk about some of the things and the changes we feel like need to be made, the paradigm shift that needs to happen for us to continue to excel as a community. Welcome to another episode of Wealth Wednesday, hosted by Latin Wealth. My guy, Jeremiah, how you feeling today?
I'm feeling great, bro. I'm actually kind of interested to see what's going on with Argentina myself. So
Yeah.
let me see what's going on with Argentina. But yeah, man, super blessed to be here. Bro, nah, never mind. Anyway, I'm good.
Hey, we here, man. Hey, look, we're
Yeah,
gonna have a
yeah,
great
yeah,
episode today. I'm excited for this one. If you guys didn't know, Argentina recently elected a new president about 6 months ago, President Javier Milei. So we're gonna dive into his first 6 months. Has it improved Argentina's economy? What has happened? So if you guys didn't know, Argentina has had some challenges for a while now, right? With their economy, one key factor is the government has been spending way too much money, spending way beyond its means. And this was a key factor in causing the country soaring inflation. And in fact, the Argentine peso lost its value about 90% of its value, right? And we covered again about 2 months ago that they introduced a new banknote because people were just carrying way too much cash, like backpacks full of cash just to go to the grocery store. They started printing a 10,000 peso note. So the inflation has been absolutely crazy there. So we want to dive into Javier Milei first 6 months and see, what's been happening. So, if you guys didn't know, I keep saying that because, it's within our community, but Argentina's, Brazil, some of the news, sometimes it doesn't hit America like it should. We don't
yeah.
cover it, but what was covered was when President Milei aggressively said that he wanted to cut government spending. And he proceeded to pull out an actual chainsaw. I mean, this thing was a heavy duty chainsaw wanting to slash, the
Flash.
cover, government spending, right? And he expressed that the country needed drastic changes. So before I bring in Jeremiah, I want to kind of dive into his initial package of measures that he wanted to implement. So, or that he did implement, I should say. He devalued the Argentina's currency, the peso, by 50%, slashed state subsidy for fuel, and cut the number of government ministries by half. All right, so this quick reduction in public spending has helped Argentina swing from a fiscal deficit of 200 trillion pesos in December of last year to a surplus of 264 billion pesos in April. All right, so the swing was from a negative to a surplus. All right, and Argentina also reported a surplus in January, February, and March, marking the first time it had achieved this monthly target since 2012. All right. So last thing I'll say before I bring in before I bring in Jeremiah is now cutting the inflation was his main priority. And just to put things in perspective, June 2024, the United States inflation rate was 3%. June 2024, Argentina's inflation rate was it was 271%. All right. So a lot of information there, but I wanted to give you guys some background information about what's been going on. And I know 271% seems like a lot, and it is, but it has been dropping. In April, it was 292%. So I want to get Jeremiah in here, break this down, get your thoughts. What are you thinking, man?
First and foremost, to go from the negative, so being in the red, to going to being in the black on the actual deficit, going the opposite direction in a span of, what was that, 10 months?
Yep.
Um, geez. Now, what that also tells me, though, I don't know if anybody else notices this, but what that tells me is um, there was a lot of corruption. Because if I cut massive groups of ministries and people, and I can go from a negative to a
Trillion.
crazy number the opposite direction, that means there
That's
was money
crazy.
being funneled through these agencies. And when I eliminate those agencies, now there's all of a sudden a huge surplus. That's government corruption. I mean,
Yeah.
that's pretty, to me, that's pretty blatant, pretty easy to spot. Um, and I'm sure he was very selective. I read a little bit. He didn't just cut anything. He was pretty
Right.
selective with the groups that he cut, right? Which tells you he kind of knew, kind of maybe there was some investigation or something, but he kind of knew what he needed to cut in order to get that money flowing back the opposite direction. That's that. Then also, people hear 271% versus 3%. Their factors of their inflation include, which by the way, include utilities, it includes their groceries, it includes the consumables and the things that we don't count in our inflation here. Now,
That's
what
a
do you mean
fact.
by that? What I mean is the government kind of fools you with those numbers here. That's a skewed number because if you go to the gas pump or if you go to buy groceries, you know that it's not just 3%. Food's double to triple in cost, right? We had a time where eggs was crazy. People were trying to store eggs, right? You guys remember that? Milk is crazy high. So there's factors in those numbers that are included that if we included over here, we'd
Mm,
probably be at 75, 80% inflation. But in
mm,
order to keep the appearance of power and things like that, obviously we don't include that. We don't include based spending. We don't include groceries. The volatility, they say the volatility is too high to be included into actual numbers. I don't know why, because we pay for it still. But anyway, so when you hear those numbers, I just wanted to say that, like, when you hear that about Argentina, I want you to understand it, and I also want you to understand um, the trading and what we've done as a country as we focused because we had a hand in that increasing in Argentina's inflation numbers and how it is um, well, within the past 8 years, and most people would say not so much with Biden, and I'm not into politics, but with Trump, it was a conscientious focus, right, to be more
mm,
of nationalism and focus
mm,
more on the money staying here within the United States instead of us importing or exporting things, us utilizing our own people and spreading and distributing from America itself. So what happens is when you stop accepting or purchasing things, beef being one of the things, right? Agriculture and beef-based products are big from Argentina. You stop purchasing those things and you only focus here in the United States, then that's a surplus and it messes up the economy in that country because they were betting on that export. So, as you really break it down, we had a little piece to do with that. And so
mm,
if we go and look at it now, it's, 8 years later and you're starting to see the effects, but that's the way an economy works. Like economically, right? It's a 8 to 12 year cycle. That's any economy. And so that's what you're seeing right now, those numbers, and everybody, wow, that's crazy. Yeah, but it took some time for that to happen. And there's multiple factors going on. Shouts out to
mm,
the president because I see that he's trying to clean it up. Um, there's
mm.
opposition.
Too
Always
high.
be opposition going against the status quo. But shouts out to him because I see that he's doing it. And I think that in the next 2 to 3 years, if he continues down this road and maybe looks at just their economic platform and the way that it's structured, if he can get some things and focus on maybe mining. Argentina has a lot of lithium a lot of lithium mines and stuff like that. He can get some corporate deals with maybe Tesla and stuff like that and get some stuff moving. Then Argentina could be they could bounce back pretty easily. The fact that they came this far in 10 months is crazy to me, Chris. I don't like
Yeah.
I read that number. I was like, this has to be a lie. But no, it
Mhm.
wasn't. That's crazy. And shouts out to him.
Yeah, 100%. I think you made a couple really good points, especially about the inflation rate. I did say 3%, and some people out there are probably like, yo, ain't no way that's 3%, man. I agree. And Jeremiah just explained like we don't consider groceries, utilities, which is, absolutely out of control right now. But the other thing is that I want to mention is, it's very interesting the newly elected presidents in Latin America, South America, it looks like they're taking drastic changes to help the country. President Bukele, we know that
Really?
he came in and he had a plan, and it was
Mm-hmm.
to flip things upside down, right, for the good. So I think it's a very interesting trend that they're going in, and like you said, that they are facing some challenges, right? He mentioned that he wanted to replace the peso with the U.S. dollar and abolish the central bank. And that's one of the things that he hasn't been able to implement. That's been taking a backseat. And he also wants Congress to grant him power to privatize more than 2 dozen state-owned companies, including state airlines, the railways, the postal service, and national water supply. So these are some things that he's definitely getting some pushback on. And even from the public eye, this was very interesting to read. There was a survey that was conducted that found that 54% of representatives thought that the president was paying more attention to its international political image than trying to solve Argentina's problem. From what I'm reading here, I don't necessarily see that. If you know him as the president, he's very, outspoken, high energy. He's got the chainsaw. He's jumping around on stage, and people think he's paying more attention to his public image opposed to the issues. I don't necessarily agree with that, but he's definitely getting some pushback, like you said.
I mean, at the end of the day, here's the thing. Um, you got to shake things up. This is the time, this is the generation, and what you'll see is you're going to see a lot of political changes all across the world where people are, and this is even against America, right? And I'm actually for people like Argentina, Panama, Dominican
Mm-hmm.
Republic, all of these places that
Yeah.
we've talked about, Bukele, they're gonna because they put pressure. And actually, what's funny, President Bukele talked about. I posted a video not too long ago about him talking about the United States tax system,
Mm-hmm.
and he broke it down very eloquently. And it was pretty, and it was actually very simple. You're taxed to make money, and and you want these countries to continue to focus on building their international face because a country can't live off of on its own. You have to trade. You have this has been
Mm-hmm.
forever, right? Thousands of years. Countries have traded with other countries and wars and all that. This is human nature. This stuff won't ever change. So to sit and say from their representative's point of view that he's not focusing on growing Argentina, all of the things that you stated are all things that are necessary, right? He's trying to move away
Mm-hmm.
from the China-based system. China is state-owned
Yep.
everything, right? Or a lot of things. Now, strangely, somehow they mix capitalism in with their communism. I don't know how that they've somehow done it and it works, but because a lot of people owe them. But he's pushing away from that. He's saying, no, let's
Mm-hmm.
privatize these things. That's going to allow more private investors to come in and be more interested
Yep.
in Argentina. That brings more money to Argentina. Maybe that brings other companies. He's trying to draw the attention of these big companies to bring more income and more jobs into Argentina. The quality of the water, like, and here's the thing, those like no different than here. You bring in someone that's radical and it just shakes everything up and breaks things and says, "No, I don't really like that." Status quo is always going to have a problem with it because they've been making money and they've gotten comfortable where they're at. And so I think that you
Yeah.
have a status quo in Argentina, and he's eliminating that, and he's eliminating their sources of funds. They can't leech money off of people anymore. So now they're actually going to have to work. You
Mm-hmm.
got to go and campaign. You got to go get a job, or it's like you're gonna have to actually put in work now. And I don't think a lot of people really want to do that. So I see him meeting Argentina's interests head on. I see him actually trying. He's doing probably the most that's been done in the past 30 years, if you look at their
100%.
economy. So I would say protect this man. Because in
And,
South America, when things like this start to happen, people want to kill people.
yep. Yep.
And no disrespect to Trump or anybody else. I'm not, whatever, no pun or anything intended for anything like that. But yeah, people want to kill people. And it usually happens in South America because coups are
Uh,
normal down there.
uh,
So I would
uh,
say he needs to make sure his protection and security is on point because you get too radical and then people just don't, they just don't want to, you know,
they don't like it. Yeah.
they
And
don't
you
like
said
it.
it, man. Like, hopefully the country is put in position to where they can receive foreign investment, right? Similar to what we're seeing in the Dominican Republic, right?
Exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
so yeah, I mean, you said it. Well said. So yeah, a lot going on over there. We're going to continue to keep an eye on Argentina, and to transition a little bit, something else that we've been keeping an eye on is some of the how should I position this? Some of the
That's how
conversations
it is.
around some of the conversations, the comments,
Yeah.
around some of the content that we putting out, right? And it's
Yeah.
not so much the hate, the negativity, the foolishness, like whatever that you got to have tough skin to be in media, to be putting yourself online.
Sure.
Um, once you start growing, you're not going to please everybody, right? There's going to be
Sure.
something that you do that's just, people are not going to like. What that's cool. I
Yeah.
think it's more of what Jeremiah are looking at is the mindset of the individuals, right? So we will post things, we'll create content about advancing, Dominican Republic or Puerto Rico. And for some reason, this doesn't sit right with people, right? They have this mindset that it's impossible and it's never going to happen, right? And for me, it's a little discouraging in the sense
Yeah.
of, man, I want our people to continue to push forward. I want us to advance. And if we have this mindset of nothing's ever going to change, then I don't know. I was kind of messaging Jeremiah, and I want to know your thoughts, man. Like, what do you think needs to be changed? Is it too late for people? Do people really care about change, or do they just care about the foolishness in the world, right?
I think that our focus is off. Um, and in particularly if we're speaking on, and this is a lot of our Latin people, right? But in particularly, obviously, we're talking about we've made some very, I would say, semi-controversial posts and done some shows that have been semi-controversial about
Mm,
the power situation in Puerto Rico. So, a lot of this is I'm speaking to my own Boricua people, and I'm telling you, and I'm saying we have to change the way you think. Everyone constantly being negative is not going to get us to where we want to go, guys. Constantly, we all know our government sucks. We know they're very
mm,
corrupt. They steal money. They've been doing this for years. But not having the desire to make things better and you just accepting and saying that's the way things are, and that's all that we put out is the negative energy of our government, our government, our government. We brought Jason onto the show. Jason has solutions. He's making solutions. There's actual contracts of people that he's working with. Here's the craziest thing, and I posted this on our comment. The craziest thing is his partners that he's working with in the environmental space, not one of them are Puerto
mm,
Rican. Not one of
yeah.
them. What does that tell
Right.
you? We love to complain. We love to dance. Excuse my language. A lot of us
Mm,
like to BS. We like to BS, joke around. We're all party, playa. Like that's all great. But when it comes to talking about real things and we have this discussion, there's a lot of pushback. But yet I don't see people actively in their community making these changes and making the steps necessary to reach out to a Jason. Jason put his contact up there. I know Chris placed his contact there. I asked him the other day, I said, anybody reached out to you? Really? No. Okay, so is it that we're going to just complain and we like complaining and seeing our voice or seeing us complaining to people? Or is it actively that we're trying to make changes? Um,
mm,
what is the young lady? Obviously, we know our brother Dean is actively in the fight. He's out there actively doing stuff in the
mm.
works of doing things.
Bianca.
Bianca is
Mm,
actively out there seeking to make changes and trying to make the connections. Are you working with them? Are you like connecting with these
mm,
people? Um, I saw another brother that however, whatever, and I commented on his thing that I see him complain a lot. I don't see a lot of action or even connection with
Mm,
people that would make action. No disrespect to him, but we got to use our platforms and our voices and our energy to do things positive. Sitting around and propagating and creating constantly this negative energy, nothing's going to change. Then nothing changes because you're creating that reality. That's what you're attracting.
mm,
You constantly attract negativity instead of us saying, you know
mm,
what, we're going to work together. Hey, Jason, there's these grants, there's this money out there. Jason, how do we get activated? How do I bring a pool of people in my community, in my pueblo? I got 80 people, 80 homes. How can we work together? What type of pricing can you give us? How do we do the microgrid? How does that work exactly in our situation? Will something happen if the hurricanes come? How do we can we maybe do a roof or something, whatever, but
yeah,
some type of solutions working with people that are actively in your community trying to do something instead of always being negative. And I'm
yeah,
always going to be the voice. Chris, y'all know Chris.
yeah,
I love Chris. Chris is my brother that pulls me back and hey bro, the chill. I'm the aggressive person. So if I see the comment or whatever, yes, I'm cool. I'm not going to attack you or anything, but I'm going to ask, what are you
for
doing?
sure.
I want to
Yeah,
know what people are doing because if we're going to complain, then the mindset stays the same. And then we pass that on to our children. That's,
man, I was just gonna
we
say,
got little kids, we got teenagers now. I saw some teenagers on YouTube and stuff doing the same thing. And I'm like, what are we doing? Like,
I was just gonna say, man, not to cut you off. Um, we got a couple more minutes. We're gonna wrap up pretty soon, and those comments, people making, whether they're making comments, whether they're making these videos, to me, it's kind of sad to see because it's a reflection of who you are as a person.
yes.
So if you're negative towards this type of information and you're complaining, I can't imagine what the household looking like, how you're talking to your kids, how you're talking to your family. Like
Come on, man.
that gets dangerous, right? And you can easily tell, like the way the spitefulness that you can see in people talking about their own people. Imagine what they do about their families and what they do about themselves.
Look, remember what I said, bro. 80% of the conversation that you have in your lifetime is with yourself in your own head. And if you had a
Mm,
friend that spoke to you the way you speak to yourself, that person wouldn't be your friend. And
mm.
probably a
That's
lot
a
of us, the
fact.
way we speak to our family, you wouldn't want to be friends
Yeah,
with your family. So,
yeah,
hey, man, the negativity, I would say take that mindset. Let's get positive. Let's focus on solutions. Let's work with each other. Let's find out ways that we can do. It doesn't matter. Whatever the government's going to be the government. Um, it is what it is. Maybe obviously
mm,
elect better. That doesn't, if you're of the belief that doesn't even change anything, then do what you can in your community, in your pueblo to make things change and make things happen. That's what I would say.
100%. And my thing is like, look, if you look at, we just spoke about Argentina, we speak about Dominican Republic, El Salvador. You don't think at one point they thought this is just the way it is. This is just how
Oh my
the
God.
government is.
El
It's not going
Salvador?
to change.
El
You know what I'm
Salvador was
saying? Like,
it was a gang nation. Like that's all you knew,
come
right?
on.
MS-13, like that's the only thing that you knew about El Salvador. Bukele came in there and said, we can be better, we can be more. And
Mm,
he fought and fought and fought. You just gotta fight, man. You gotta want it and you gotta change your mindset. He had a different mindset, and now it's a completely different country. Everybody's got their
mm,
problems, but man, it's been turned around. And we could do the same thing, but we gotta want it.
mm. 100%. One last thing, it's funny because the church I go to, we moved into a new building, and new building, things are not going to work. People still trying to get the parking situation right. Our pastor was like, "Do not complain about nothing unless you are actually helping to provide some solution. I don't want to hear about how the parking is crazy. If you ain't helping, don't complain."
I'm with it. And I'm 100% with that. What are you actively doing? If you're actively
What are you
doing
doing?
something, like, man, this could be better. Okay, cool. You're working on it. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Shouts out to your
100%.
past.
Yeah, 100%. All right, cool. So if you guys enjoyed this episode, learned anything new about Argentina, please share this episode with one other person. And as always, it's the Live Family. We'll catch you guys next week. Peace.
Peace, guys.